Welcome back everyone to Formula 1 2020, round 10 of the season. Welcome to your preview for the Russian Grand Prix. After last time's completely bonkers Tuscan Grand Prix, we are now over the halfway stage in our crazy 2020 season. As you can see on the calendar on screen, this weekend, the Russian Grand Prix. Then next time out, we head to the Nürburgring, Germany. I cannot wait to return to that venue. We then head back to Portugal, Imola, Turkey, 2 races at Bahrain, and we finish our season as always in Abu Dhabi on the 13th of December. Last season here at Sochi we were treated to a drama-filled Grand Prix, actually one of the best ever Russian Grand Prix. Ferrari at the centre of attention, team orders, but a late failure from Sebastian Vettel and a dodgy safety car in terms of strategy for Leclerc gave Hamilton the victory, Bottas second place, and the Mercedes 1-2. But with Vettel and Leclerc in the top 3 in qualifying, can Ferrari repeat that this year? Unlikely, I'm sad to say, Ferrari fans. But last time out, goodness me, what a carnage Grand Prix. And though we ended with another 1-2 for Mercedes in 2020, just their 3rd of the season, the race behind dramatic as ever. First lap crashes from race winners this year, Max Verstappen and Pierre Gasly, led Alex Albon to fight out with Daniel Ricciardo for the final podium slot. And it was Albon who came out on top for his first podium in Formula 1 history. Kimi Raikkonen further down the order, scoring his first point of the season. George Russell just missing out for Williams. And after that race in Tuscany, here is your Drivers' Championship in 2020. Lewis Hamilton comfortably leads the way over Valtteri Bottas. However, Bottas is very, very nifty at this particular circuit in Russia, so maybe could claw back that gap a little bit this weekend. It's then just 25 points back to Max Verstappen. However, the true fight in 2020, the one we're absolutely loving, is that fight for 4th. Norris currently holds that position, 2 points over Alex Albon. A little gap back to Lance Stroll. Daniel Ricciardo making a bit of ground over the last couple of weekends. Great races at Spa, Monza, and last time out in Tuscany. Leclerc still holds on in the top 10. Perez and Gasly round it out. Carlos Sainz, 11th place for the Spaniard. Esteban Ocon struggled in the first half of the season. What can he do in the second half of the year? Vettel in 13th. Danny Kvyat over to Nico Hülkenberg, last time out in 14th and 15th. Raikkonen and Giovinazzi both on 2 points each. Magnussen on 1. Latifi, Russell and Romain Grosjean all yet to score. And your Constructors' Championship, Mercedes running away with it, 325 points. Red Bull all the way back on 173. Red Bull's closest challengers, McLaren on 106 points in 3rd. Racing Points, Renault, Ferrari all in that mix, trying to close down McLaren. AlphaTauri after some great races, most importantly in Italy with that victory. Last time out in Tuscany as well, with Danny Kvyat picking up solid points, closing down the gap to Ferrari. Alfa Romeo on 4, Haas on 1, Williams yet to score. Your Formula 2 Championship looks like this, with it going down to the wire it seems. Just 3 races to go in Formula 2 this year, but currently it's Mick Schumacher who leads the way, Callum Ilott in P2, Christian Lundgaard, the Renault Junior, P3, Schwartzman, Mazepin, Tsunoda rounding out your top 6. In your rookie standings, Lundgaard leads, Schwartzman P2. Tyre choice this weekend, completely the opposite to Tuscany. We've gone from the hardest compounds possible to the softest compound possible. C5, C4, C3. One stop is mandatory. It's often what we see in Sochi, but high rate of safety cars at this particular circuit could throw a spanner in the works for some of those midfield teams going for a bit of a gamble. And though we've never ever seen a red flag here at Sochi, 3 in the last 2 races, hey, we're on a bit of a streak at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. And before we jump into your hot lap, the weather this weekend is very hot indeed. 27, 28 and 29 degrees, but your chance of rain, 9% on Friday, 6% on Saturday, and even less, 2% on Sunday. So it looks all bone dry here in Sochi. Right, you've seen the stats, you've seen the tyres, you've seen the championship, you've seen the weather. How about we jump into a hot lap and take a look at the Sochi Autodromo Russian Grand Prix circuit. Welcome everyone to your hot lap for the Formula 1 2020 Russian Grand Prix here at the Sochi Autodrome. DRS in effect through this flat out, slight right hand kink of turn 1, heading down towards turn 2 with DRS in effect. Certainly in the Grand Prix, plenty of kerfuffles, runoff area nice and deep on the left hand side, through turn 3 completely flat out. A huge left-hand corner, completely hard on the driver's necks and even worse on the tyres. Through turn 4, the short run to turn 5, maybe an overtaken opportunity, especially in the opening couple of laps. Ending sector 1 through the right-hander of turn 5. We've then got this very quick, complex section of turns 6 there and 7. Very, very quick in succession. It's almost a blind turn 6. Very similar to turn 8 and then turn 9. Sometimes they don't count those two corners, but through turn 10, DRS now in effect, the longest straight on the circuit. It's not really quite straight, as you'll see we kink slowly to the right and then back to the left. Carlos Sainz had a huge incident here in practice a couple of years ago. DRS in effect in that particular area under the bridge. Only a few corners to go now as we enter sector 3. Overtaking almost impossible at this area of the circuit, but if we do get a safety car, bunching up can be a little bit more on the complex side like we saw at Mugello a couple of weekends ago. 2 corners to go, turn 17, finally turn 18, and that is your lap here at Sochi for the Russian Grand Prix. Heading on over then to the newsroom. 2 weeks have passed since that crazy race at the Tuscan Grand Prix. However, news has been pretty barren. Most people have taken this 2 weeks off and I've just had a bit of a break, and Formula 1 news for the most part has grinded to a halt. But I've picked out 3 stories I think are quite interesting for today's newsroom. Starting off, the verge of greatness. Lewis Hamilton this weekend can equal Michael Schumacher's record of 91 Formula 1 victories here at the Russian Grand Prix. It's not his best circuit. Rosberg got a victory, Bottas got a victory, but Lewis Hamilton, we know how consistent he is. We know he's a legend in Formula 1, and could be this weekend, could be next weekend. He is right on the edge of overtaking some utterly ridiculous statistics. Hamilton could make history this weekend. Ferrari, we know they've got plenty of juniors in Formula 2. We also know there's plenty of juniors ready to make that step up into Formula 1. We just mentioned Michael Schumacher. Well, his son, Mick Schumacher, right on the edge of claiming a Formula 1 seat for next season. Robert Schwartzman and Callum Ilott also right in the mix for next year. Gunther Steiner this morning suggesting that potentially this year, one of those 3 drivers could get a run out in the Haas in a practice session. Also, Alfa Romeo suggesting a very, very similar thing. Could we see 1, if not 2 of those drivers in F1 next year? I think it's very likely indeed. More on that in this week's Transfer Talk earlier on in the week. And finally, Racing Point. Do they have a bit of trouble heading into the Russian Grand Prix? New update last time out, but Lance Stroll crashing late on in the Grand Prix totaled his chassis, meaning not only does Lance Stroll need a new chassis this weekend, which could potentially, unlikely, but could potentially lead to a couple of penalties, grid penalties on Saturday, means Sergio Perez is going to have to go a second weekend in a row without any upgrades. It just gets worse and worse for Sergio, and a track which I don't think will suit the Racing Point massively over competitors Renault and potentially McLaren. Another setback, especially on Sergio's side of the garage. And that's it for the newsroom this weekend, ladies and gents. I know it's short, I know it's sweet, but moving on to one of my favourite parts of the weekend. You know what it is by now. Prediction time for the 2020 Russian Grand Prix. I have gone with Valtteri Bottas on pole position, Lewis Hamilton making it a Mercedes 1-2, and Max Verstappen to bounce back after a couple of non-scoring weekends, 3rd on Saturday. On Sunday, I've gone with it. Lewis Hamilton to equal Schumacher's record. Victory for the British driver, extending that lead in the driver's standings. I've put Bottas P2. He's going to give him a real good run, but Hamilton will just have that little bit extra form that he's riding on in 2020. I've gone with Verstappen to be back up on that podium, but my biggest surprise, I guess, Esteban Ocon. I've put in P4, Alex Albon P5. As always, I want to know your thoughts, your predictions in the comment section down below, and for your chance to be featured in tomorrow's video, here is your grid to follow. In qualifying, I want to know who's pole position, who's the front row, and who's the biggest shock. Grosjean, maybe P3? We'll have to wait and see. And in the Grand Prix, who's the race winner, what other two drivers will be on the podium, first retirement if there's any, driver of the day, and best of the rest, which again, you can kind of make up your own story on what's best of the rest, but for the most part, we're generally going with 4th place. Finally, before we go, Fantasy League time, and I'll do a quick rundown of this weekend's slightly bizarre schedule and timings in a moment, but Fantasy League, Daniel Ricciardo in the team this weekend. I made a bit of a mistake last time out, rushed last minute, put in Pierre Gasly. He then went out in Q1, out on lap 1, didn't do my team any favours, but after that crazy race, I actually did very well, up to 214th place. 3,600 of you in the league, but if you're yet to do so, don't worry, the code is on screen. And screenshot time at the ready. Here is your very strange weekend schedule for the Russian Grand Prix. Friday, pretty much the same as usual. Practice 1, Practice 2 and Formula 2 qualifying 9 o'clock, 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, so all 1 hour earlier than normal. But Saturday, 8 o'clock in the morning, your Formula 2 feature race. We then have Practice 3 at 10 o'clock and qualifying at the slightly earlier time of 1 o'clock on Sunday, 8:45, your Formula 2 sprint race, and your 2020 Formula 1 Russian Grand Prix midday 12 o'clock. And that is your lot for your preview for the Russian Grand Prix. Is it going to be a banger? Not normally in Sochi, but if the last 2 races have got anything to prove, never discount Formula 1 to throw some crazy spanners in the works. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this weekend's preview. If you are new, feel free to subscribe. I hope you enjoyed, and if you do subscribe, welcome to the team. But as always, thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.